Last time, we unmasked the overconfident expert. We saw how easily a pronouncement can be mistaken for truth, especially when delivered with conviction. Today, we tackle an even more insidious villain, one we often invite into our own homes, our feeds, and our minds. The comfortable hum of agreement. The suffocating silence of dissent. We love to be right. It's a deeply human trait. And nothing feels more right than when everyone around us seems to agree. But consensus is not a guarantee of accuracy. It can be a symptom of something far more dangerous, the echo chamber. So here is how this works. You bring a belief that everyone knows. I ask, who is everyone, and what have they actually examined? You point to a popular opinion. I look for the dissenting voices that were filtered out. You show me a community that feels entirely aligned. I investigate the invisible walls that keep out contradictory evidence. If the shared belief is robust and withstands scrutiny, we affirm it. If it's a fragile consensus born of selective exposure, we politely disrupt it. No accusations of malice, no shaming those who seek comfort in agreement. Just an examination of human psychology, the architecture of information, and the mental traps we construct when we prioritize belonging over truth. Tonight's first case. The myth of the uniformly informed group. A cozy illusion. A dangerous blind spot. You can surround yourself with affirming voices and still be profoundly mistaken. You can consume only facts that validate your worldview and miss critical realities. You can mistake the volume of agreement for the weight of evidence. The mistake is not seeking connection with like-minded individuals. The mistake is letting that connection become a fortress against reality. Case opened. New case. Let's dive into a classic misconception that often masquerades as wisdom. If you avoid conflict, the problem disappears. At first glance, this sounds like sage advice. After all, who wouldn't want to sidestep the uncomfortable? The idea of keeping the peace seems appealing, doesn't it? But here's where the hidden assumption lurks that silence is a solution. What may be wrong or incomplete here? Conflict is often viewed as a negative force, something to be feared or avoided at all costs. Yet this perspective overlooks a crucial reality. Conflict can be a catalyst for growth, understanding, and resolution. The missing context is that unresolved issues don't vanish into thin air. They fester, often leading to bigger problems down the line. By avoiding confrontation, you may think you're keeping the peace, but you're actually paving the way for resentment and misunderstanding to take root. So, how should we think about this? Embrace conflict as an opportunity. Engage in open dialogue, even when it's uncomfortable. Addressing issues head-on can lead to stronger relationships and clearer communication. In the end, avoiding conflict is like ignoring a leak in your roof. It might seem easier in the moment, but eventually you'll find yourself with a much bigger mess to clean up. Remember, conflict is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Let's inspect that belief. Today, we tackle a common misconception that many people cling to: successful people are always confident. This idea has a certain allure, doesn't it? The image of a self-assured leader striding through life, exuding charisma and certainty. It's a comforting narrative that suggests success is simply a matter of confidence. But let's peel back the layers. The hidden assumption here is that confidence is a prerequisite for success. This belief implies that if you lack confidence, you're destined to fail. But what might be wrong or incomplete about this? Confidence is often a facade, a mask that people wear, and it doesn't always correlate with competence or success. What's actually happening is that many successful individuals experience self-doubt, anxiety, and imposter syndrome, yet they push through those feelings. They take action despite their fears, often learning and growing along the way. The missing context is that confidence can be built over time through experience and resilience, not simply by possessing an innate quality. So, how should we think about success and confidence? Recognize that it's perfectly normal to feel uncertain. Instead of waiting for confidence to strike, focus on taking small steps toward your goals. Embrace the discomfort of self-doubt as part of the journey. In conclusion, remember this: confidence is not a prerequisite for success. It's often a byproduct of taking action despite your fears. Question from Paige Dempsey F9Y. Ho, new case. Let's tackle a misconception that's as popular as it is misleading. If it feels right, it must be right. This belief has a certain allure, doesn't it? It taps into our emotions, suggesting that our feelings are reliable guides. After all, who wouldn't want to trust their instincts? But let's dig deeper. The hidden assumption here is that feelings are infallible indicators of truth. This notion implies that if something feels good or right, it's automatically valid. However, what might be wrong or incomplete about this perspective? Emotions can be influenced by biases, past experiences, and even fleeting moods. They can lead us astray. What's actually happening is that our feelings often reflect our desires, fears, or social pressures rather than objective reality. The missing context is that critical thinking and evidence should accompany our feelings to guide us towards sound decisions. So, how should we approach this? Instead of solely relying on feelings, balance them with rational analysis. Engage in self-reflection, seek diverse perspectives, and evaluate the facts before drawing conclusions. In the end, remember this: just because it feels right doesn't mean it is right. Trust your instincts, but don't forget to question them. Question from Ryan Patterson 272. Hi, new case. Let's dive into a common misconception that often leads to frustration. If I am busy, I am productive. At first glance, this belief seems to make sense. We equate busyness with achievement, don't we? The more tasks we juggle, the more accomplished we feel. But let's unravel this notion. The hidden assumption here is that activity equals productivity. This idea suggests that as long as we are busy, we are making progress. However, what might be wrong or incomplete about this? Not all activity contributes to meaningful results. In fact, some tasks can be mere distractions. What's actually happening is that busyness can create an illusion of productivity. People often fill their schedules with low-priority tasks, leaving little room for what truly matters. The missing context is that effective productivity is about focusing on high-impact activities, not just filling time. So, how should we think about productivity? Shift your focus from being busy to being effective. Prioritize tasks that align with your goals and evaluate your progress regularly. In conclusion, remember this: busyness doesn't equal productivity. It's the impact of your actions that truly counts. Question from Linda Dunleavy, B1L. Let's inspect that belief. Today, we're unraveling the notion that more information means better decisions. At first glance, this sounds logical. The more data we gather, the clearer our choices should be, right? But let's dig deeper. The hidden assumption here is that information alone leads to clarity and understanding. This belief implies that simply accumulating facts will automatically enhance our decision-making process. However, what might be wrong or incomplete about this? Too much information can lead to analysis paralysis, where we become overwhelmed and unable to act. What's actually happening is that our brains have limits. When bombarded with excessive data, we often struggle to discern what's truly relevant. The missing context is that quality trumps quantity. It's not just about having more information, it's about having the right information and knowing how to interpret it effectively. So, how should we approach decision-making? Focus on curating essential information that aligns with your goals. Simplify your data intake and prioritize insights that truly matter. In the end, remember this: more information doesn't guarantee better decisions. It's about the clarity of understanding that counts. Question from Linda Dunleavy, B1L. What the hell? New case. Let's address a misconception that often leads to frustration and misunderstanding. Everyone is judging me. At first glance, this belief can feel very real. It's easy to think that everyone around us is scrutinizing our every move. But let's peel back the layers here. The hidden assumption is that people are constantly focused on us and our actions. This belief implies that we are the center of everyone's attention. However, what might be wrong or incomplete about this? The reality is that most people are far more preoccupied with their own lives and concerns than we realize. What's actually happening is that our minds can amplify feelings of self-consciousness, leaving us to believe we are under a microscope. The missing context is that while people may notice us, they are often not judging us as harshly as we think. In fact, many are too busy worrying about their own perceived flaws. So, how should we think about this? Shift your focus away from what others might think and concentrate on your own values and actions. Engage in self-compassion and recognize that everyone has their insecurities. In conclusion, remember this: the spotlight you feel is often an illusion. Most people are too busy with their own lives to judge yours. Question from SmartBlog AI. Tell me about something crazy, please. Let's explore a wild misconception that has baffled many: the belief that rich people are rich because they work harder. At first glance, this idea seems to make sense. We admire the hustle and grind of successful individuals, attributing their wealth to sheer effort. It's an inspiring narrative, isn't it? But let's dig into the craziness of this assumption. The hidden assumption here is that hard work is the sole determinant of financial success. This belief implies that anyone who isn't wealthy simply isn't putting in enough effort. However, what might be wrong or incomplete about this? The reality is that wealth is influenced by a multitude of factors, including privilege, access to resources, education, and sometimes sheer luck. What's actually happening is that many hard-working individuals may struggle to make ends meet, while some wealthy individuals may have inherited their fortune or benefited from advantageous circumstances. The missing context is that hard work is important, but it's not the only ingredient in the recipe for wealth. So, how should we think about wealth and effort? Recognize that while hard work is valuable, systemic factors play a significant role in financial success. It's essential to advocate for equitable opportunities for all, rather than simply attributing wealth to individual effort. In the end, remember this: hard work is crucial, but it's not the only ticket to the wealth train. Let's not confuse effort with outcome.